What is going on, guys? This is me, Sin, and a lot of things to cover in this video. So first of all, YCS Medellin just concluded this weekend, and my boy Christian Urena won everything with pure snake eyes, so huge shoutouts to him. I will be going over that very shortly, though. First things first, though, I want to cover the news from Yu-Gi-Oh! Organization, which is the new core set, Rage of the Abyss. Definitely looks very interesting. But before going any further, of course you already know the drill. Friendly reminder to smash the like and subscribe button. Yeah, another thing, I wanted to wish all you guys a Merry April Fools. I wanted to kind of like troll you guys for you know, this sacred holiday, but to be fair, all of my videos just look like April Fool's jokes, so whatever. I mean, my life is a joke. Anyways, let's get right into it. Okay, so the devs never forgives. I probably butchered that. The second core booster for the fiscal year releases on July 27th for the OCG, and just like everything else from that year, we are going to be getting quarter century secret rares, which is not too bad. When you see Rage of the Abyss, what is the first thing that comes to my mind? Well, because of the fact that I correlate like the Abyss to like you know, like the depths of the ocean, I'm going to be thinking, well, it has to be water support. It could be shark, Atlantean mermail, could be anything that's water, because water has been garbage for like way too long. Fire has also been like really trash. We have been in the year of fire where we got like, you know, the snake eye monsters, and this is going to be proving that water is in fact super effective against fire, because I believe that when this set will come out, all the fire decks will be completely long gone. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts about this core set in the comment section below, and your predictions. What do you think will be getting support? And do you think we'll also be getting either a new TCG exclusive, just like every single freaking set for no reason? Or do you think that we're going to be getting more support for Testina, which is also kind of like a water theme archetype in a way, kind of? I don't even know. I don't even care. Anyways, YCS Medellin. This is where it gets very interesting. I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce this. I've never been to Colombia. I wish I could actually attend this YCS. Everybody kept asking me like, oh, are you there? No, of course not, for obvious reasons. We don't have enough information at the moment. We obviously just know that Christian Urena won everything with pure snake eyes. That's what he's been playing since day one. And then the second place deck was Runick Stun, and this is what this video is all about. This deck is super cancer. We don't have any deck list outside of the one from Andres Torres. By the way, I will leave this link in the description so that you guys can actually check out, because eventually we're going to have every single deck list. So yeah, huge shoutouts to everyone who topped this event, and huge shout out to everyone who attended. A lot of my friends that I can recognize here, which is beautiful. A very interesting deck list from Andres Torres, by the way. I have seen his deck profile video, so it's very similar to what people are doing in Master Duel, and it's actually crazy that I know that. And the cool thing about this deck is that you can still incorporate 12 hand traps. No need to play Nibiru, because if you Nibiru your opponent, then you can't summon your Kashtira monsters. So it makes sense that these are the 12 hand traps to play. And the fact that you're playing Kashtira monsters also makes it so that if you get shifted, you don't really care. Like, the Kashtira cards are just so good under shifter that it's completely fine. I have played a Kashtira Three Elements at a YCS, so a remote duel YCS doesn't really count. But now, let's get into the Runick Stun deck. Even though, again, this is not his deck profile, it's a little disgusting, so you guys definitely need to know how to, I guess, counter the deck. So you have to understand the deck in order to know how to beat it. So yet again, this is not anyone's deck list in particular. This is kind of just like, if I had to play the deck myself, this is how I would kind of build it, using like a bunch of observations from people that have been doing relatively well with it. You can play a lot of annoying monsters that I really do not enjoy facing. So Amano Iwato, last time we saw that was in the True Draco deck. Not really fun. Yeah, you can go normal summon Amano Iwato. It shuts down pretty much all of their interruptions. They can imperm the Amano, but then because of the fact that it only bounces itself back during the end phase of it being normal summoned or flip face up, it's never gonna go back to your hand, so it's like a permanent skill drain. Actually, even worse than skill drain, because it prevents every monster effect from being activated in the first place. If you have this card, plus pretty much anything that like protects it, then you're gonna be in a very, very good position. And 1900 attack in like simplified game state is a lot of pressure. So yeah, you can play either that or Inspector Border, but it's not really good going second. Or you can play Fossil Dynam. I don't know if the guy who got second place at the YCS played that. They're basically the three best monster floodgates that you can play. But Amano Iwato is a good card going first to make it so that you do not lose to Ash on whatever all of your draw cards and stuff. Also going second, it makes you break boards like super easily. And then yeah, this is the kind of deck that can play one day of peace and actually kind of abuse it, because you draw a card and then you have a 0% chance of dying. So you can afford to pretty much do nothing, and then you're basically playing going second. So especially when you have one day of peace and Amano, you can just go like draw one, and then just, I don't know, like set up for the future, and then next turn you can just go like normal and then break the board. And you're basically doing as if you went second. It's just that each player draws one card with one day apiece. So you're also making your opponent go +1. So yeah, keep that in mind. If you're facing a Runick Stun player, you're also drawing a card. It's not too bad. But don't try to go for the OTK, that would be stupid. Time tiering, they changed the name, it was time rendering before, or time rending. It reminds me of like Guarded Treasure, the card that Raphael played in the anime. So like for the rest of the duel, you're always drawing 2 cards instead of 1, and you can also normal summon twice per turn, every single turn for the rest of the duel, but you can never use monster effects in the hand, which doesn't matter because you're not playing hand traps. So this card was also kind of seen play a little bit in Flunderies. It does make sense, but it's especially good in these kinds of stun decks because you're always going to be replenishing your resources. But you can deck out with this card. I have seen a replay on DB Grander's channel of someone losing because he decked himself out playing against a pure Snake Eyes deck because he summoned like a Hugin, and then at the very end, like he got hit by a Book of Eclipse and he was forced to draw 1 card. And then next turn, he draws 2 cards instead of 1, and you only had 1 card left in deck. So that's one way to lose, actually, with this card. And then 3 Pot of Duality, obviously, because you're trying to see as many cards as possible. Again, if you're trying to beat this deck, just be aware of the fact that if your opponent goes for Duality, then he has to, like, figure out a way to search the field spell without going to Hugin. So the only ways to get there, really, would be either to hard draw it or get Terraforming or Runick Tip. That's it. But yeah, I mean, you have so much draw power that it's usually not going to be too complicated. So yeah, Duality, Desirous, Card of Demise. This deck is unfortunately very consistent, and it can play multiple Floodgates. Now, thank God that there can only be 1 Gozen Match and Rivalry Art 1, otherwise you would probably see like 3 of all of these cards. Maybe 2 Gozen Match or 1, but Rivalry and there can be 1, especially in combination, these cards create a soft log because they're the exact opposite of each other. There can only be 1 makes it so that you can only control 1 monster of each type, and Rivalry makes it so that you can only control 1 type of monsters. So in other words, when both are face up, you can only control 1 monster. That's basically what it means. And again, it is absolutely not enjoyable to face. Yeah, I really hate these cards. If they could get banned one day, that would be really nice. I think we can start by limiting skill drain. This card is seeing play in almost no decks, but it can be good in the side deck in a few decks. It can be played in Labyrinth, I guess you can say. And in this deck, it's like extremely filthy because you win with your spell cards by decking your opponent out, which is absolutely not fun. It is ruining the game. Even though you can say, oh yeah, well, tier 0 decks are ruining the game. At least like everyone can kind of beat those decks, but this kind of deck is just like never enjoyable to play against, like regardless of the kind of deck that you are playing yourself. So yeah, I do not consider this kind of deck a necessary evil for Yu-Gi-Oh whatsoever, and if you do, man, you have issues. Anyway, Synchro Zone, I have made multiple videos on this card. It's a Floodgate that prevents both players from declaring attacks except with Synchro monsters. So obviously against the pure Snake Eye deck, it's kind of a rough lock. And if your opponent can only attack with 1 monster because he only has like 1 Synchro, then you can always sponge every single attack by going like a runic spell into like a, I don't know, Gary, and then destroy the monster, or a Hugin, and then it puts back itself in the extra deck. So you never run out of ways to tank your opponent's attacks. So yeah, this card is also super frustrating. It's basically Messenger of Peace though. It's actually hilarious. I can't believe like someone commented on one of my videos saying like Messenger of Peace is pretty much a game against Tenpai Dragon, or cards that are like that. And you know, it's true. Yeah, so you can also expect this card to unfortunately still see play once we get Tenpai Dragon, because even though Tenpai Dragon is a synchro-based deck, they still have to attack with their smaller monsters first. And if they can't do that, then they're not going to be able to play the game too much. So yeah, Synchro Zone is always game. And then the 3 runic cards that are just at 1, so Golden Droplet, so that you can deck your opponent out even more. He draws on a card, and then you banish 4 cards. And then Runic Dispelling, there's a combo with both of these cards where your opponent draws the card, and then he has to discard a card right away. And then you banish even more cards, so you deck your opponent out for like 7 cards using these 2 cards. It's pretty insane. Smiting Storm, you can banish up to 12 cards with this card, theoretically. But usually you're not going to be banishing too much, because everyone who's playing against runic stuns, they always know to not place a lot of cards on the field, not only because you want to play around that, but also when you place spells and traps, you start making yourself very susceptible to getting hit by destruction, which is the nastiest one, because it's an MST that also banishes 4 cards. If you want to win against Runic, usually you want to play it very slow. You want to normal summon monsters that typically don't have effects. Like Gemini Garnet is a decent card against the deck, because they can't use Freezing Curses to negate it, and they can't destroy it with Flashing Fire. But the issue is that they can summon Gary, and then obviously they can float. Yeah, usually you want to summon a monster that cannot be targeted, but even that is not enough, because, again, if you can only really attack with 1 monster, or if they can negate it with skill drain, you just lack win conditions. So you need cards that just can get rid of a lot of back row at the same time. But Duster also doesn't really deal with this deck too much, because they can protect themselves from Duster using Hugin, And Cosmic Cyclone also is not always going to be really helpful because they can preemptively summon the Munin so that they can negate it. That's also really, really bad, unfortunately. And I want to say Runick Slumber is probably one of the nastiest cards that you should be afraid of when you are playing against the Runick Stun deck, because regardless of how good you play against it, they can always use Slumber even on their own monsters to make you banish the cards from the top of your deck even faster. So really have to watch out for, I want to say these 5 cards especially. Golden Droplet particularly good in this deck, but it's not really good in decks that just splash it as an engine. And yeah, the card of Demise that they're always going to be drawing, obviously you can always count on that. Yeah, 40 card deck list, of course. Really fun for the whole family. The extra deck, triple Gary, of course, and then triple Hugin, double Munin, double Freki, double Sleipnir, even though I don't believe you need, like, I don't even know how necessary this card is. You're rarely gonna go into it, but it is good as a board breaker. But to be fair, Gary is also good as a board breaker. You can summon it during the battle phase and then crash, so that's not too bad. And then Typhon, Baguska, and SP Little Knight. Usually not really needed. The most necessary cards are Hugin, Gary, and then Munin. Yeah, everything else I don't even think you really have to worry about if you are trying to play against it. Oh, actually Typhon. Yeah, that's scary. For the other cards that the deck might be playing either in the main deck or in the side deck, or cards that you probably need in order to beat the deck. So I talked about Inspector Border and Fossil Dyna already. They can also play Card Scanner, which kind of behaves similarly to Mischief of the Time Goddess. You're always going to know what your opponent will be drawing so that you can preemptively play around it if it's a Duster or Cosmic Cyclone by summoning the Munin first. So again, watch out for Card Scatter. And then Solemn Strike, Solemn Judgment. You already know that when they have Floodgates on the field, they're always gonna have Solemn Judgment or Dark Bribe, these kinds of stupid bullshit scam cards all the freaking time. If they don't feel like they have enough Floodgates, they can play Power Sink Stone. It's pretty much like an additional version of Skill Drain, but a little more fair. So if Skill Drain gets banned, people will start playing this card instead. And it is very good. I have seen deck list of this deck in the OCG playing Power Sink Stone. Engrave of the Super Ancient Organism is a more niche Floodgate and only really affects decks with level 6 or higher special summon monsters. So Kashtira, Despia, even Voiceless Voice, etc. Those monsters will not be able to either activate their effects or declare attacks. So again, you can run out of win conditions very quickly. And Sphere Mode Lava Golem for the Snake Eyes based strategies or anything else really. It's really hard to just make a board that can beat this deck. You can end on like Spell Cancel or Pass, but like nobody really plays that card. And then, yeah, if you want to beat this deck, again, Cosmic Cyclone. Magic Deflector is a really big one, and Anti-Spell. But Magic Deflector, I want to say, is probably one of the best cards, because it's good going first and second, but it doesn't deal with Skill Drain and all the other Floodgates. So again, it's good against the majority of the deck, but not all of it. Anyways, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts about this disgusting deck in the comment section below. And I'll see you guys very, very soon. Peace.